Hey everyone, this time on Tim Talks Audio, we check out Crystalline from Baby Audio. We've had the pleasure of working with Baby Audio a number of times in the past, and we're back at it again with their newest plugin, Crystalline. This is a brand new, very powerful reverb unit that gives you lots of controls to tailor in your sounds and makes dialing in some of those sounds way easier, like setting the start and end times. This is something we kind of don't think about too much, is making sure that the beginning of our reverbs as well as the end of our reverbs kind of line up within our song. This adds an extra layer of production to make sure that everything is in time. Crystalline makes this really easy. So instead of talking about it, let's dive into the DAW and check it out. Okay, so here it is. This is Crystalline. It has the very same aesthetics that we're used to seeing with Baby Audio, where it's these soft button looking selectors on all of our different sections here, as well as the sliders and everything. And we can of course change this as well. If we go up to the top, we can change this to dark mode. But for this time, I'm actually thinking we're gonna leave it on the light mode. You have four main sections that we see here: reflections, depth, cleanup, and shape. Reflections is exactly what you think it is. It's setting up the actual reverb sound itself with size, sparkle, and width, allowing you to tailor the sounds and the tail of your reverb however you want to do it. You want to add some extra sparkle or maybe reduce some? Do that here. Bring the overall size of the reverb down? Sure, just come over here and go anywhere from tiny all the way up to spacey. This is a very long tail. We'll just put this back into the center for now. Underneath that is depth. This is the modulation section of this reverb. So we can reduce the resolution down to basic, leave it in high, which is the default, or put it to pristine, allowing us to have the cleanest reverb, or we can actually kind of crush it down a little to give it sort of a lo-fi kind of sound. Then you have some modulation on your reverb here, where you can actually have it kind of move around a little. And then you have Shimmer, which actually is a multi-button button. On the top, you have your multipliers, 2x, 4x, and 6x. And on the bottom are your frequencies, starting at 2K, 4K, or 8K. Jumping over the middle section, we have cleanup. This is where you can actually dial in the sounds after the fact. Maybe you want to adjust the cutoff frequency of just the sides of your reverb. So you can go here and slide it up or down to roll off the lows for the sides. You also have your dampening control here, so it's your high cut and low cut, allowing you to tailor the sound. And if you really want to go with like an 80s sound, there's a gate in here as well. And on the gate, you can adjust. On the right-hand side is your release time, and on the left-hand side is your threshold. So once the reverb comes to a certain point, the gate will just cut it off. And then underneath that, you have shape, allowing you to add some extra top end or low end, creating a tilt EQ. Then you have some smoothing here, where you can actually kind of round things out or make it a little sharp. And then some transients. You can either increase the transients or kind of increase the sustain. Okay, those are the outside sections. Now let's concentrate on the center. Right up top, you have this multicolor visualizer, and it's really nice. As we start feeding some signals in, you'll see this react. Then underneath is your start and end times. So with start, underneath it, you have the sync button. This is the thing we were talking about, where you can lock the pre-delay of your reverb to your session's tempo. Right now, I'm in 145. If I want, I can start taking the slider for the start or our pre-delay and increasing it. Maybe I want a 16th note worth of pre-delay. Maybe I want an 8th note, and this can go all the way up to a whole note. And it's the same with the end. I can take this slider and actually increase it to up to 4 beats, or I can bring it all the way down to a 16th note. And we'll mess around with these in a little bit. Then it gets smart once again. Underneath, you have a built-in ducker. You don't have to do any side chaining here, because the built-in ducker will listen to the incoming signal and push the reverbs out of the way. And then when the incoming signal is stopped, it'll open up, allowing the reverb to open up and bloom, and you get this nice lush sound. On the right-hand side is your wet-dry selector. And then there's two buttons next to Ducker and Dry Wet. The one next to Ducker is the gentle button, turning it on or off, allowing the in and out of the Ducker to be a little bit softer. And then the button next to dry wet will actually lock the slider in so you can start banging through presets and your blend of your dry and wet signals won't change as you're going through all of those different presets. In a bunch of the presets, the wet dry is dialed in for you. But if you like your balance of dry to wet, but maybe the presets aren't just falling in for you, then you can lock it and start clicking through and finding the right sound, and then unlock it and adjust the dry wet to your taking. Now, I can still slide it around. It's just during the preset selection and cycling through them that it will lock the wet dry balance for you. Then 2 buttons in the middle. The pink one is reverse reverb. It will take your reverb and actually throw everything in reverse, giving you this swell kind of sound. And then reverb freeze. The way freeze works is as things are going through the reverb, when you click and hold on freeze, it takes a snapshot of the reverb as it's happening then and continues it as it is until you let go. This would be a great thing to automate because I'm sure nobody wants to sit there and click on and off the freeze function as you're going through your production. I didn't say this before, but the start and end times don't have to be in sync. You can switch them to milliseconds and dial it in as you see fit. All right, that's all the controls. Now let's get into the sounds. First thing first is I'm going to switch over to my piano where I do have another instance of Crystalline on here, and I'm just going to stretch it out on the bottom right-hand corner so you can resize this plugin. And I actually found a preset that was perfect. This is a piano, and I went with the preset called The Pianist. Kind of makes sense. I did change a few of the parameters in here to suit what I was doing. Speaking of what we're doing, let's take a listen to things before we put Crystalline on. I'm just going to play the whole production for you, and then we'll go in, listen to certain things with and without the reverb. So there it is. You can tell a lot of the things are really dry. We need some length. We need to kind of make everything full and lush. That's where Crystalline is going to come in. Let's concentrate on our piano first. I'm just going to solo it out and we'll take a listen. This is just hitting chords and a bass note, although the bass is kind of handled by something else. We'll get to that later. So here's the piano on its own. And now we're going to put Crystalline on it. And now take a listen. So you can hear we have a nice long tail, and these chords can just kind of hold and flow into each other and give us a bit of depth and width and just some length as well. You saw in there, I also adjusted the ducker a little because I wanted it to get out of the way of the piano itself. I do want those transients. And so I also pushed the pre-delay a little as well, just to make some room for the initial hits. I also adjusted the wet-dry balance as we were going through as well. So that's our piano. Now let's switch over to our drums where we have Crystalline on as well. Here's just the drums without Crystalline. That's at the beginning of the song. I'm going to fast forward to here. And now let's take a listen to our drums. Everything's really dry. The kick drum is kind of long. I'll probably go in and shorten that sample a little bit, but everything's really dry. It needs something. So let's go ahead and throw Crystalline on. And here it is with the preset of Basic Room, again, dialed in slightly. So you can hear with our snare and our hats, we're getting some extra length, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want just this tight snare and top end of my kick. Now, I am getting a little bit of low end from our kick drum, but I can come over to dampening and just kind of clean that up a little, because I don't need that low end. It's going to get in the way. I'm actually going to go up to 250, get rid of all of my real low lows. And then the top end is cut at 55, 5600 right now. I'm actually going to open that up just a little bit. We went up to 8,900, whatever. And then we'll go ahead and clean up our sides as well, just to make sure we're not getting too much low end. And with these adjustments, let's take a listen. Much better. We're not really affecting the kick drum other than its upper harmonics, and I'm cool with that. But we have our snare and our hats that are going into the reverb and getting that length that we need from the tail and the reverb that we want. Very quickly, let's just listen to our piano and drums together before and after. Nice. They're stretched out. They have a sense of room, a sense of place. Now let's move on to the next thing. All right, as a quick reminder, here's how our production started. And here it is with Crystalline on our drums, piano. We do have a choir in here. I have it on there as well, even though I didn't go over the settings, and our clav. Now let's listen. So there you go. That is Crystalline kind of in a nutshell. It also was a good example of how Crystalline sounds on a bunch of different sources. The one thing we don't have in this, because I put this song together before filming this video, is any vocals. But there are so many different presets inside Crystalline. When you come up to default preset, you can see there is a ton from the factory. There's 73 factory presets, and then you have a ton of presets by a bunch of different engineers, including Zardonic. I saw Killshot in there, a buddy of mine. There's so many different options in here with your presets, and then you can dial them in to suit your productions. I want to thank the guys over at Baby Audio for allowing me to play with this beforehand, and if you're interested in picking up your copy of Baby Audio, check out the link down in the description. That's all for now. If you found anything informative, please like and share the video. For booking information, check out timflansbaum.com, and if you have a question, ask it in the comments, and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching.